This is the Blood Red podcast from the Liverpool Echo.
James, a frustrating one at Anfield for Liverpool last night. They tried, but they couldn't break Bayern Munich down, and it'll all be about that second leg in Munich. What were your thoughts on the game?
Yeah, just a massive sense of anticlimax. I think you could feel it around Anfield. As the game wore on and on, it was the atmosphere was absolutely electric at the start.
Yeah.
I think everyone was so highly charged, and that sense of expectancy around the stadium. We've become spoilt really, and you look at the European nights we've experienced in recent years since Klopp took over. You think we've been used to almost Liverpool steamrolling, even high caliber opponents like Bayern Munich, but it fell pretty flat. I thought on last night at Anfield. Liverpool never really, it looked really nervy first 20-25 minutes. The passing was sloppy. The final ball, they got themselves into some decent areas, but that let them down badly. Then they had that spell before half time, probably 10-15 minute spell where it really started to click, and you thought, now they're finally, we're seeing some fluency, and Bayern were under pressure. But it just felt like the interval came at a bad time for Liverpool because they lost that momentum a bit. And then second half was an absolute non-event. I didn't think, Liverpool never looked like conceding. And I think, in the cold light of day, you think 0-0's not a bad result. Bayern will have to come out and show more ambition on home turf, and that'll suit Liverpool on the counter-attack, of course. They'll also have Virgil van Dijk back, which will be massive. But yeah, still disappointing that Bayern didn't really feel the full force of Liverpool because they were a long way from their fluent best.
Attention's now turned to Manchester United on Sunday. Virgil van Dijk will return for that game. But what do you think Klopp's going to do now with his midfield? Because Fabinho won't play centre-back at Old Trafford. Will he move back into midfield, do you think? And who drops out if he does?
I think that's... it's almost been, that's without doubt, that's Klopp's biggest dilemma ahead of Sunday's trip to Old Trafford. But it's almost been the kind of the big dilemma ahead of lots of games all season, because Liverpool have had such a, you've almost been able to pick the back four. Obviously in the first half of the season when Gomez was fit, it was Gomez, Van Dijk, the fullbacks pick themselves, the front three picks themselves. But the makeup of that midfield has been, less certain, and Klopp's had to chop and change. I think I look back and Liverpool played 8 games in this calendar year, and they've had 8 different midfield combinations. In terms of Sunday, Fabinho has to start. There's no question about that. He's been in, such good form, and I thought his performance as a makeshift centre back was one of the big positives on Tuesday night. So I think he has to play. I think Jordan Henderson has to play as well. After, I think. That's going to be such a tough game on Sunday. I think everyone knows that how pumped up United will be. It's a very completely transformed United side from the one Liverpool faced at Anfield a few months ago, and you want leaders out there and you want experience, and so I think Fabinho and Henderson for me are nailed on. And I think it's a tricky one. I would personally, I'd go with Wijnaldum as the third one for those reasons, in terms of the big games he's played in, and the experience he's got. Of course, that would be harsh on Naby Keita, but I think that would be the way I would go. But I think that's where Klopp's got a lot of food for thought to make sure he gets that balance right, because there's no question that's going to be a key determining factor, that area of the field, of whether Liverpool come Sunday evening still have the Premier League title race in their own hands.